A conversation with a special guest, and he's here. He's His Majesty's Trade Commissioner for Africa. John Humphrey is here in the studio. John, what a pleasure to meet you.
Good morning, Kojo. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Great to be here.
Indeed. I'll tell you what, we know you've been in town for quite some time, but we've been looking forward to this conversation in particular because, first of all, we're curious about what brings you. So maybe we'll start there.
Thank you very much. So, I mean, there's obviously a great trading relationship between Ghana and the UK, and that's my job. My job is to promote trade and investment between the UK and all the different markets in Africa. I cover all of the continent, but obviously Ghana is one of our key trading partners. And in general, I mean, our trade is about 1.6 billion and thereabouts, but more than half of that is from Ghana to the UK. So it's a very equal relationship, and there are three main reasons why I'm here. The first is we had a trade mission earlier this year in March, which was around healthcare, so we really wanted to follow that up, and we had a dinner yesterday evening to meet all the participants there and to see how they're progressing, because obviously that's just the start of doing business. We had a trade mission here for the mining industry as well, so we were at Boasi yesterday, which was fascinating. So we flew to Kumasi and then went on to the mine, so that was really, really interesting. Got some business with the government of Ghana today, so we're signing an agreement around sort of debt restructuring, and another reception this evening. So it's great, actually, a lot of fun.
Yeah, at some point, make some time to eat fufu. Try that.
I've put on a lot of weight since I moved to the region.
Yeah, well, that's the evidence that you've been to Ghana, right? Now, we've taken note of the fact that the UK government is particularly interested in some of the Ghana government initiatives like the 24-hour economy and the big push. Now, just before we get into that, we've been looking at some of the key pillars of the 24-hour economy, haven't we, Blizzard?
That's right. It's linked to the Volta Economic Corridor project, part of the Accelerated Export Development Program of the government, announced by the Finance Minister, Dr. Kisiel Atuforsen. So there are three pillars, actually. You have Grow 24, which will irrigate over 2 million hectares of farmlands. You have Make 24, which will establish agro-industrial parks. And then you have Show 24, which will develop tourism and hospitality hubs in the country. So that's the pillars. In terms of the pillars, you have three of them, and I'm just interested in what the UK government will be willing to invest in.
Well, in fact, I'm also interested in why you're interested in those two policies in particular.
So I think the role of government, or one of the roles of government, is to create the conditions that promote growth, and that's an issue for the UK government, and it's an issue for the Ghanaian government as well. So initiatives like the big push, the 24-hour sort of economy, if you like, and all of that is a key part of that from a Ghanaian perspective. And I think the UK has that same objective. We want to promote mutual trade. We want to see your economy thriving, and that does well for us as well. So thinking specifically about some of those pillars, for example, so we have the Jobs and Economic Transformation Programme. That's very much involved with supporting the Make 24 pillar. Right. We have lots of companies that have real skills in agriculture, irrigation, all of those sorts of things that play into that. And just recently, I think, is in the process, I'm not sure how far along it is, there's a UK company opening an agri-processing facility up in the north of the country, which will generate about 3,500 indirect and direct jobs.
And there's this perception about multinationals and as to whether or not they really impact the local communities where they operate. Do you share that view that UK businesses are indeed making an impact in Ghana?
I do share that view, and actually it's one of the things that I'm actually proud is perhaps not the right word, but I'm most proud of when I see what UK businesses are doing actually across the whole continent of Africa. I'm sure we have our companies that are not so good as well, but in general my experience is UK companies take those responsibilities seriously. They put a lot into the communities, and generally speaking, actually where possible, they actually source a lot of their input. I mean, the last time I was in Accra, I visited Unilever, and a large percentage of their raw materials come from Ghana. A lot of their production is done in Ghana. Most of the products that they sell are made in Ghana.
I was just having this conversation with Kojo the other day about the healthcare system in the UK. Speaking about the NHS, for instance, it has its own unique challenges, but comparatively, we're taking inspiration from that. We have our own system as well. And so that's bringing up the question as to what happens in the health sector and whether or not that's of interest to you as well in terms of exchanges when it comes to trade.
Of course it is. And I think, for many, as you say, the NHS is well renowned, really. And for whatever you say about it and the difficulties that it has, it is an amazing service. And when you need it, it's really there. But there's a lot of expertise embedded in that. And that's expertise that those organisations want to share, whether that's from a business perspective or whether that's more philanthropic or whatever it happens to be. So we see a lot of the NHS trusts being very active and looking out. And as I mentioned earlier, that we did a trade mission to the UK roadshow, really, actually, where we took a number of hospitals and healthcare buyers from Ghana. We went round the UK and visited training establishments and visited companies. And actually, just yesterday evening, we had a dinner to follow that up. And actually, it was great to see that actually real partnerships emerging. So I think there's a deep relationship there.
Indeed. Yeah.
If you just joined us, we're talking to John Humphrey. He's His Majesty's Trade Commissioner for Africa, and we're talking about the various points at which Ghana's economic aspirations and the UK's trade interests align. Let me ask you this. Currently, the United Kingdom has lots of businesses operating in Ghana. And for me, I think it's an opportunity for us to see whether indeed our economy is bouncing back. What are they telling you about how the economy is doing for them in Ghana?
Yeah, so that's interesting because that's obviously one of the key questions for me. Coming back to Accra since my last visit, it's a chance really to get a sense of the market and how things are happening. And one of the things that's really struck me is a sort of sense of optimism. And that's something that I feel we can really build on. As I say, the trade is very mutual between the UK and Ghana, and actually Ghana exports actually runs a trade surplus with the UK. So we're contributing to your economy in that sense from that trade balance point of view. But I think there's a lot more we can do. So I think we're all optimistic and looking forward, and as you say, hopefully it's really going to bounce back.
Do they have any unique challenges that they talk about?
So I think all businesses have challenges with government policies. I mean, we have the same in the UK as well. And as I say, our job really as government is to try and create that. We don't do business. We try and create the framework for doing business. Yeah. And it's not always easy to get right. So to get that balance right, you need regulation. You want goods to be safe. You want people to feel like their money is safe and those things. But you also don't want to over-regulate. At the same time, things like getting products registered and things. I mean, all of that takes time and things to do. So I think all governments struggle with those things, and I don't think it's any different for Ghanaian companies or for UK companies, and they worry about taxation and all of those sorts of things. But generally very positive though. That was my feeling.
And Kojo, I think in the end, the ultimate aim is about shared prosperity and growth as well, which the UK government is focused on. But it's just difficult on this side of the world, right? Trying to come out of this whole sovereign debt crisis, which many African governments are grappling with. What sort of partnerships are coming on board from the UK side just to support these African economies?
Well, I mean, there's actually quite a lot that the UK is doing more generally, I think, in an African context. But one of the things that we're hoping to do here today is to sign an agreement for a debt restructuring with the Ghanaian government that's very much in line with the sort of Paris Agreement, so we can get that behind us and start to move forward. More generally, across the continent, the UK has always been supportive of the AfCFTA, which have their secretariat here in Accra. We have the Developing Countries Trading Scheme, which really sort of allows tariff-free, quota-free access for many African markets into the UK, and allows them to build regional supply chains, which is one of the things that the AfCFTA is very much trying to do as well. So I think the UK is doing a lot, and I think one of the key parts of my role is opportunities like this, really, to say, the UK is here. We're looking to build trade and investment between us, and I think that's how you create jobs. That's how you lift people out of poverty, create prosperity, but also that's sustainable. That lasts into the future because you've got mutual self-interest.
Yeah. Can we get more details on this agreement you're signing with the Shippers Authority?
Well, I mean, I can't give you more details today, and and obviously, like all of these things, that's for us. But I think you can see where this is going to. We want to get to a place where the debt restructure is in place, and we can start to move forward with new investments and new projects, and really pick up where we left off. As you rightly say, there's a sort of bounce back, and we need to capture that moment. And for the UK as well, we're struggling with growth in the UK at the moment. So I think anything that sort of drives that is for all of our good.
The understanding generally is that whenever a country benefits from any kind of debt relief, any kind of deal that eases the debt burden, there is a quid pro quo. So what's in it for the UK?
I think what's in it is to get the trading relationship back on a normal footing and start to do business again. I mean, the UK is a big investor in Ghana, and actually Ghana is a significant investor in the UK as well in terms of investment stock. So I think there's a lot of connections between our two countries, and really getting to a place where we can we're not sort of constrained, and we can sort of move forward again as positively as we have in the past.
John Humphrey is our guest. He is the United Kingdom's Trade Commissioner for Africa, and he's telling us all about his visit to Ghana and all the things he's got on his roster to get done by the time he leaves, including eating fufu. And what else is there? I mean, you've mentioned quite a few things.
And I had something like gold. The extractive sector.
Yes, yes.
Is that of interest to you as well?
Well, apart from the fact that I didn't get a free sample when I visited Boise yesterday, which I was promised, So, but no, that was. I mean, actually, again, we talked about large companies and multinationals, and again, I think there's a lot of investment going into the community, a lot of training, a lot of programs, as well as obviously contributing significantly to the Ghanaian balance of trade. I mean, gold prices are very high at the moment, so it's a great moment to capitalise on that.
It's an incentive and a disincentive at the same time, because there are questions over sustainability as well, and what Ghana is grappling with the environmental challenges associated with mining. What would you recommend that countries do in these times while keeping an eye on output and also sustainability?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I really like about, in general, the UK's trading relationship with Africa is it's moved very much away from being a relationship that's all about extractives. In fact, it's not. It's very much a mutual trade. Ghana runs a balance of trade surplus with the UK. But most of that is not extractives. Most of that is in other things, and it's really interesting to see how sort of we're importing, fruit and veg. I mean, talk across the continent as a whole. Actually, even car exports from South Africa to the UK have increased. So generally speaking, that trade has changed. A lot of it now is services, and about 60% of our total trade with Africa is services, and so it's not that more traditional idea that people have of trade. But I think you're right. In general, extractives present a problem for us all, don't they? Because we need materials, to the transition and everything else. But it's difficult to do mining, in a way that doesn't impact the environment.
Great. Does the UK's policy take that into cognizance, though? Do you, actively factor that in to the agreements you have with countries like Ghana? Yeah,
well, I mean, not necessarily specifically in the group, but certainly in terms of our government policy and the things that we do and the things that we actively support. Yeah, that's very much in our mind. So in terms of some of our policies, so for example in fossil fuels and other areas as well. So we're very much trying to promote the transition and to make sure that we get to a world that is more sustainable, as you mentioned.
John Humphrey is our guest, and he is the UK's Trade Commissioner for Africa. John, what else is on the roster for you while you're here? Any other interesting trade highlights you want to mention?
I don't know really. I think I've probably mentioned all the things that I wanted to mention. I mean, it's always interesting. I mean, one of the best parts of my job is you actually go out and you're not behind a desk. You meet companies, you see what people are doing, you see the projects and the impact that has. And in the UK, through BII, has invested something like 32 million in Ghanaian SMEs.
Wow, that's that. 32 billion.
32 million. Billion. Yes, yeah.
I even misheard that, but that's a very significant amount of money. It is,
particularly for small and medium-sized enterprises, and many of which are women-owned and run.
Yielding returns?
Yeah, absolutely. BII has to invest to generate a return. That's how they get the money recycled. That allows more investment to be made.
That's positive. Well, we certainly hope that this is not your last visit to Ghana.
I'm sure it won't be.
Well, wait till you eat the fufu. So, John Humphrey, thank you ever so much for making the time to stop by, and we wish you the very best of luck with your visit to Ghana, and we hope to see you again very soon.
Great. Thanks, Kojo. Thanks, Blessed. Thank you very much.
Good to see you.
It's our pleasure.